My name is Lorraine. I'm a retired nurse, three-time divorcee, grandmother of five, and apparently, I'm also a woman who doesn't need saving. That last part, that's what everyone wants to talk about. 3 months ago, I posted a video in my apartment talking to my phone camera about solitude. I didn't edit it. I didn't add music. I just sat there in my house dress, hair wrapped, no makeup, speaking plain truth about the day I decided to stop performing for other people and start living for myself. I fully expected maybe my niece and a few of her friends to watch it. Instead, 3 million people watched it. Then 5 million. Then I stopped counting. I spent 2 weeks reading comments, and I wept. I wept because a 34-year-old woman wrote that she'd spent her whole adult life trying to be the emotional support system for a man who didn't know her birthday. I wept because a 67-year-old widow confessed that she finally felt allowed to turn off her phone, stop returning texts within 5 minutes, and just sit with herself without guilt. I wept because so many of you are drowning in other people's expectations. You are running yourself ragged trying to prove you deserve to exist. But underneath all that agreement, I felt something else, a tremor of real, raw fear. And it was always the same question, asked in different ways. Lorraine, I hear you. I hear that you want to be alone. But what if something happens? What if you fall? What if nobody checks on you? What if you die in that house and nobody finds you for days? That question haunts my son, Marcus. I know because he brings it up every time we talk. He wants me to move in with him and his wife. He wants me to wear one of those alert buttons. He wants me to stop being so stubborn about my independence. He loves me. I know that. But his love comes with a price, my freedom. I spent 42 years wiping other people's bottoms in hospital beds. I spent 42 years being the one who showed up when nobody else would. I held the hands of strangers who had no family, no visitors, nobody. I watched people die in loneliness that had nothing to do with living alone. It had everything to do with living for everyone else and never saving anything for themselves. I promised myself that when it was my time to live, I would do it on my own terms. But I also promised myself that I would not become a burden to my children. That's the compromise. People think I'm crazy. They think I'm reckless. But I'm neither. I'm practical. I've worked in healthcare too long not to understand the mathematics of aging. My blood pressure is higher than it should be. My knees have betrayed me. My left hip reminds me every morning that I'm not the woman I was at 40. The probability of a fall increases every single year. The probability of a serious accident compounds. These are not possibilities. They're certainties. So I didn't ignore them. I engineered around them. My son wanted to strap me with cameras and panic buttons, turn my sanctuary into a monitored facility. I said no. Instead, I offered him something better, data without invasion. Every morning at 7:30 a.m., Marcus gets a text from me, not a full sentence, not, "Good morning, son," or "I slept well," not a paragraph about my blood pressure medication or what I'm making for dinner. Just one thing. That's it. A single bullet point. That little dot is binary code for I got up. I made it to the kitchen. I took my medication. My heart is still beating. I am here. If Marcus doesn't get that dot by 7:50, he can call. If I don't answer, he can come over. If I still don't answer, he can call Miss Keisha next door, who has a key. That was the deal. That was the compromise I could live with. And it works. because I get my solitude and he gets his peace of mind. Nobody loses. Alongside the dot, I did things that my younger self would have rolled her eyes at. I bought a smartwatch that detects hard falls. I wear it every day, even though I hate technology. I ripped out every single throw rug in this house, those death traps that my sister June loves so much. I installed grab bars in the bathroom. I reorganized my closet so that everything I need is at arm level. I don't do these things because I'm terrified. I do them because they protect the life I have now. Peace isn't just something you feel. Peace is a sturdy handrail. Peace is good locks on the doors and a fire extinguisher in the kitchen. Peace is knowing that if something happens, you've done everything you reasonably can to prevent it. But here's what nobody talks about. Here's the thing that keeps people trapped in situations they hate. The stuff. We accumulate. We hoard. We convince ourselves that our memories live in objects. After my second husband left, I couldn't throw away a single thing from our marriage. His cologne bottles sat on the dresser for 3 years. His leather slippers were still by the bed. I couldn't look at the house without seeing everything that had failed. 2 marriages gone, a third that should have stayed gone longer. When my mother died 15 years ago, I inherited boxes of everything. Old letters, tax documents from the 1980s, cloth napkins she never used, a china set that was too nice to break out. My sister and I had to sort through it all. We cried. We fought over what deserved to be kept. We felt guilty throwing away anything that might have meant something to somebody. It took months, and at the end, we were exhausted and angry and heartbroken all at once. I watched my brother go through something similar last year. His wife moved out. Suddenly, he had a 3-bedroom house full of 20 years of accumulated marriage, kitchen gadgets they never used, furniture in 3 different styles from different periods of their life, closets bursting with clothes that didn't fit anymore. He had to downsize for the divorce. The process was brutal. I thought about Marcus then. I thought about him having to do this with my things someday. Not because he has to, but because he loves me and he can't throw away his mother's life without permission. So a year ago, I started the work. Every Saturday morning, I go into my attic, my closet, my drawers. I pick one small section, just one, and I go through it with a cup of chicory coffee and a clear head. I am ruthless. Do I need 14 throw pillows from a time in my life when I was trying to be fancy? No. Donation pile. Do I need my wedding dress from my first marriage? The one that was supposed to be forever but wasn't? Into the bag it goes. Do I need every single photograph my mother took? No. I keep the best ones, have them scanned, and let the rest go. Do I need the fancy dishes that my ex-husband's mother gave me? The ones I've never actually used because I was saving them for special occasions that never came? The trash. All of it. At first it hurt. Every object felt like I was erasing a period of my life, a relationship, a version of myself. But something shifted after a few months. The house got lighter. The air felt different. I could breathe again. And more than that, I started to feel lighter too, like I was setting down a burden I didn't even know I was carrying. I kept what matters. A small wooden jewelry box my father made in his wood shop. The quilts my grandmother stitched. My nursing journals. 20 years of notes about the people I helped. The lives I touched. My Bible, marked up and worn. A photo album with my children. My mother. the people who made me who I am. Marcus's baby pictures, June's hospital bracelet from when she was born, my mother's recipes, copied in my own handwriting. Everything else? Gone. The rest of it, the deed to the house, my life insurance, my will, my medical directives, the list of passwords. I put it all in one folder, painted bright red. I sat Marcus down and handed it to him. I said, "When I'm gone, you'll know exactly where everything is. You won't have to guess. You won't have to search. You won't have to agonize. The house is clean. Sell it. Give the money to your children or keep it. Take the memories that matter. And don't waste a single second worrying about what to do with my old church hat or my kitchen table. Let it go. Let me go." He cried. He said I was talking about things I shouldn't be talking about, but I wasn't. I was giving him a gift. The deepest fear, though, the one that keeps people suffocating in situations they hate, isn't about falling. It isn't about being found days later. It's this. What if I die alone? Society has a very specific narrative about what a good death looks like. It's supposed to be surrounded. It's supposed to be peaceful. It's supposed to have mourners and soft lighting and someone holding your hand. If you die alone, we're told it's a tragedy, a failure, proof that your life wasn't worth much. I watched my mother die, and it wasn't like that. The hospital room was packed. My siblings were there, my brother-in-law, my nieces. Cousins I hadn't seen in years came to say goodbye. And you know what my mother spent her last coherent moments doing? Worrying that everyone was comfortable, asking if we wanted coffee, apologizing for being a burden. Even with a room full of people, she had to walk that final path alone. I held her hand, but I couldn't go with her. Nobody could. Death is the one place where your family can't follow. It's the ultimate solitude. And I realized something sitting in that hospital room. All of this running, all of this performing, all of this desperate clinging to other people so we don't have to be alone. We're just delaying the inevitable. We're just practicing how to hide from ourselves. When you spend your final years with your nerves stretched thin, managing everyone else's feelings, never having a moment that's just yours, you're not practicing living. You're practicing suffocating. And then when death comes, you've never made friends with the quiet. The silence terrifies you because it's unfamiliar. I chose differently. By living alone now, I'm not running from anything. I'm running towards something. I'm getting to know the silence before I meet it at the end of the road. I'm learning how to be my own company. I'm making peace with myself. All the choices I made, all the roads I didn't take, all the versions of myself I had to let die so that I could actually live. I don't know how many years I have left. Could be 10. Could be 10 months. Could be that I won't wake up one morning. But I can tell you this with absolute certainty. I'm not afraid. I'm a woman who has done hard things. I've been a wife 3 times and a fool the last 2 times. I've been a nurse for 4 decades, present at the beginning and end of lives that weren't mine. I've raised good children. I've buried my mother and buried myself in work so I wouldn't have to feel the loss. I've made mistakes and learned from them and made them again anyway. I've lived long enough to know exactly who I am and what I need. And what I need is this: a clean house, a red binder on my desk, a grandson who knows I love him without me having to explain it every other day, a morning routine that belongs to me. Saturday, coffee with a good book, my garden, my church, my own company. I don't need to be rescued. I don't need to be checked on every 5 minutes. I don't need my children to feel guilty about the boundaries I set. I don't need to perform gratitude for the privilege of taking up space in someone else's life. Every morning, I wake at 5:30. My knees pop when I swing them out of bed, and I thank them anyway. At least they still work. I go downstairs and make my coffee the way my mother taught me, the way her mother taught her. Strong, black, no sugar, no cream, just the bitter truth of it. I sit on my back porch and watch the sun come up through the oak tree. I listen to the birds. I don't check my phone. I don't think about what I should be doing or what anyone else needs from me. For 30 minutes, I am entirely my own. At 7:30, I text my son a dot. Then I get dressed. I water my plants. I might do some gardening, or I might sit and read, or I might call my daughter and have a real conversation, not the rushed, obligatory kind, but the real kind where we're actually present with each other. I make my own lunch. I don't eat in front of the television because I'm running from one thing to the next. I sit at my table and I taste it. In the evening, I might listen to music. I might work on the quilt I'm making for my great-granddaughter. I might write in my journal. I might sit in the dark and think about my life, not with regret, but with clarity. And when I go to bed, I sleep the sleep of someone who doesn't have anywhere to be tomorrow except exactly where I am. This is what peace looks like when you're old and black and alone by choice. I know there are millions of you watching this who are suffocating. You're suffocating in marriages that feel like work. You're suffocating in families where you're the emotional workhorse, the one who remembers everyone's birthday and nobody remembers yours. You're suffocating in a culture that tells you that your value is measured in how useful you are to other people. I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to wait until you're 75 to reclaim your life. You don't have to spend your final years paying the debt you think you owe. You don't have to choose between your peace and your relationships. You can have both. It just requires you to build the systems, set the boundaries, and stop apologizing for them. Look at your life like an engineer. Identify the weak points. What's draining you? What are you doing out of obligation instead of love? What promises did you make to people who wouldn't do the same for you? Where are you bleeding? Build your systems, whether that's a daily text to your children, a medication reminder, a trusted neighbor with a key, or a therapist you see every week. Build what you need to feel safe, and then feel secure enough to be alone. Send your dots. Create some small way to check in that doesn't require you to be available for a 20-minute conversation every single day. Throw away the garbage. Not just the physical clutter, but the emotional baggage, the guilt, the resentment, the relationships that are costing you more than they're giving, the version of yourself that you're still performing for people who stopped watching a long time ago. Have the hard conversations. Tell your children that you love them and that you need space. Tell your friends that you can't be their therapist anymore. Tell your church family that you're saying no to the committee work so you can say yes to your own life. And stop running from the end. The winter is coming. It comes for all of us. The question isn't whether you'll be alone at the end. The question is whether you'll have learned to be comfortable in your own company before you get there. If this message resonates with you, if you're tired of performing, if you're exhausted from being what other people need, if you're ready to stop hoarding your life and start actually living it. I want to hear from you. Leave a comment. Tell me what you're letting go of. Tell me what freedom looks like for you. Tell me what you're choosing. And if you found some value in the words of an old black woman sitting on her porch in the morning light, share this, because the quiet is spreading, because there are millions of people who need permission to be left alone. And I'm giving it to you right now. You have permission. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, I'll send my dot to my son. And then I'm going to spend the entire day exactly as I want, unapologetically, peacefully, alone. Until next time, stay peaceful and stay true.